Okay, yeah, so good evening, guys. Yeah, so today we're going to be looking at drawing on canvas objects. Okay, that's what we're going to be looking at today, drawing on canvas objects. Now, so yeah, let's dive into it. So first of all, let's talk about what a canvas is. Okay, so a canvas is just a 2D, that's two-dimensional or drawing surface that provides methods for drawing. That's just basically what a canvas is. A two-dimensional drawing surface that provides methods for what drawing. Okay, or you can just say it's a 2D. Yeah, that it just gives you that. You can just see it like just a drawing board. Yeah, you can just see like a drawing board. Okay, so that's basically what a canvas what actually is. Now, but in making use of canvas, we're going to be using what we call a paint. Okay, we're going to be using what we call a paint. Let me just drop this also. Okay, canvas, they actually just help you to define shapes, okay, that you can draw on the screen. Okay, so now, like I said, in making use of canvas, you need what we call a paint object. Now, this paint object, okay, the paint object defines the color, it defines the style, it defines the font, and of each shape that you draw. So it holds the style and the color information about how to draw, some lines, rectangles, sparks, or even the typeface of a text. That is what the paint object does. So it just defines the color, style, font, okay, and of any shape that you get to actually what draw. Okay. Now, just a few things. There are certain operations that we can actually perform on a canvas, that is on a 2D drawing surface. There are certain operations we can do. Okay, so I just list them out here. Now, you can fill the whole canvas with a color. Okay, you can fill the whole canvas with a color. You can draw shapes. Okay, you can draw shapes such as rectangles, arcs, okay, and paths. Styled, okay? Those are the words styled. Okay, excuse me. So, but it's actually as defined in a paint object, okay? You can also apply transformations, such as translation, scaling, and custom transformations, okay? And then another thing you can actually do, another operation is the clip operation. And the clip is just basically apply a shape or a path to the canvas to define its visible portions, okay? So these are the operations the types of operations you can perform on a canvas, okay? So basically what are we going to learn? We're going to learn how to create a canvas and draw on it in response to a user touch, okay? In response to a user touch. And then what are we going to do? We're going to create an application that draws lines on the screen in response to the user touching the screen. And we're also going to be able to capture motion events. Okay, we're going to be able to capture motion events, and in response, we're going to be able to draw lines on a canvas that is displayed in a full screen custom view on the screen. So I've talked about custom views, so I want to believe you know how to create a custom view. Okay, so let's just let's go straight into Android Studio. Okay, that was just to get us ready for what we have to do. So let's go straight into Android Studio. Okay, so confirm you can actually see my Android Studio. You can just probably raise your hand or drop a message on the chat. Okay, so basically I've actually just created, yeah, thank you very much. I just created a project. Okay, so I called it my Canva. Okay, you can call it anything. So we're going to create a custom view for this drawing. Okay, we're going to create a custom view for this drawing. Okay, so before that, let's set up a few things. Okay, let's set up a few things. So let's see. Okay, let's see. Okay, we can basically just use these colors. Okay, let's just use the colors that we have. Purple 200. Okay, let's just use it instead of having to change anything. Now, but the next thing I would want to do, okay, I'll go to my themes, and then I actually do not need an action bar. Okay, I want to remove the action bar, so I'm just going to change this to no action bar. Okay, yeah, so that's that. So just those two things. Okay, if you want to decide the color you'd want it to be, that's also fine. Okay, and then you change to no action bar because we do not need the action bar. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to do is now to create the canvas view class. Okay, to create what's the class. So I'm going to, just like we did the other time, so I'm gonna right click on this. So class, I'm going to call it my Canva view. So, okay, good. So yeah, my Canva what view. Okay, so we are actually creating. So what we want to do now, we want to make this class. Okay, I want to make this class to extend the view class. Okay, I want to make this class to extend the view class. So before that, I'm going to pass in the context of type context. Okay, and then of course we should extend the view class. Extending the view class, I need to pass in the context. Okay. Okay, so that's actually the first thing. So now the next thing we're going to do is we now need to set this Canva class. Okay, we need to set it as the content view. Okay, I need to set it as the content view. Now, if you go to our strings, where we have, I'm going to add. Let me just duplicate this, but it should be able to. So let's call this, let's just call this content description. Okay, and here let's just give it anything. I'm just gonna say, yeah. Okay, so I think can just use that. Okay, so what I'm going to do, because I want to set this my canvas view. Okay, I want to set it as the content view. What do I mean? In our main activity, okay, I don't want to have to use this set content view, which is the activity underscore main. No, I do not want to actually use that. Okay, so I'm going to take that and then create an instance. Okay, I'm going to now create an instance of the my Canva view class. Okay, so can I just say val so I'm just going to use small letter for it, my Canva view. Okay, and then I need to pass in the context, and then I'm going to pass in this as the context. Okay, so after getting this, I'm going to request the full screen for the layout of this my Canva view. Okay, this is our custom view. I'm going to request the full screen for the layout of this view, and we do that by using the system.ui, the system UI flag full screen. Okay, so with this my Canva view, yes, I can get system visibility, system UI visibility. Okay, and then I'm just going to set this to system. Okay, system. Okay, so I think I need to get something. Sorry. Okay, it's past this and then okay. Okay, so need to import something. Yeah. Okay, so hold on. Okay, so yeah, then I'm going to just import that. Okay, yeah. Okay, so then we're going to add a content description. So I'm just going to say my Canva view, node small data, yeah, the instance. So I'm going to call the instance and then set content description. Okay. And then I'm just going to get the string, which is r.string dot content description. Okay, fine. So with this now, I can now call my set content view, and then I'll pass in my Canva view. Okay, yeah, so that's actually that. So now the next thing is this. So we have actually done that. Now we now need to we need to display the canvas. Okay, we need to display the canvas. And to do that, we need to override the onSize changed. We need to override the onSize change. Okay, now this onSize change method, okay, is called by the Android system whenever a view changes size. Okay, so because the view starts, because of course your view starts out with no size. So the views or size change method is also called after the activity first creates and inflates it. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. But before that, we're going to create some late init variables. Of course, you know what the late init variable is. So I'm going to create a late init variable. Okay, but sorry. So I'm going to do that here. Okay. So I'm going to explain what this does. So I'm going to say extra canvas. And this is going to be of type canvas. And then I'm going to create another late init variable. Okay, and then I'm going to call this extra, let's say bitmap. Of course, yeah. So, so this bitmap and canvas, okay, they're actually used for catching what has been drawn before. This late init variables we are creating to cache what has been drawn before. Okay, that's why we are creating that, so we can cache whatever we draw rather. Okay, so I'm going to let's create a class variable. So I'm going to say, let's do this private. So BG color, that's for background color. Okay, so I want to get a color. So what should the color of this background be, of this custom view? Okay, so let's say resources compact dot get color. Let's see. So the get color method, okay, you need to pass in resources, which is get resources, and then you now pass in the color ID. So let's see what we have here. What color do we use? Let's use a black. Okay, let's just use black. Okay, now, so the next thing we're going to do, so let's now override the onSize changed. Okay, and remember, this method, okay, we said the Android system calls it whenever the view changes size. Okay, and it's also called with the changed screen dimensions. Okay, so if your screen changes size and you're calling this method is being called, and of course you need to pass in the dimensions. Okay, you need to pass in the dimensions of that. Okay, so sorry, just give me a second. Okay, yeah, so let's continue. Okay, so what do we it's expecting something. Okay, so this theme, well, we're not using it, so I'm just gonna pass in all here. Okay, so let's overwrite that method. So I'm going to just say on size changed. Yeah. So this callback method is called by the Android system with the change screen dimensions. Okay, that is with a new width and height. That is the height to change to. Okay, and the old width and height to change from. Okay, so you can see this is the new width, which is W, the new height, the old width, and the old what height. Okay. So inside this, I'm going to create an instance of the bitmap with a new width and a new height, okay, which are the actually the screen size, and then I'll assign it to the late init variable that we actually was created. Okay, so this is now what I'm just going to say. I'm going to say extra bitmap. Okay, it's going to be, so I'll call our bitmap dot create bitmap, and then we pass in the width, pass in the height. And then the last thing is the config. So I'm just going to say bitmap.config and then I'm going to use this. Okay, so the ARGB, it stores each color in in 4 bytes. Okay, and it's actually what is recommended. Stores each color in 4 bytes. Okay, and it's actually recommended. So that's why we're going to be using that. Okay, so next is for the Canva. So we're going to create the Canva instance from the extra bitmap, and then we'll assign it. So for the canvas, so I'm going to call the canvas class, and then I'll now pass in this bitmap that we just created, which is the extra bitmap. Okay. Of course, we can specify the background color. So I can just say extra canvas dot draw color. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So let's just use our BG color. Sorry, did I use draw text? Sorry, that should be draw color. Yep, yeah, draw color. So use the BG color. Okay, so if we're going to use this to, okay, yeah, so let's go ahead. So now, if you look at this on size changed method, okay, now a new bitmap and canvas are created every time the function executes. So whenever we create this function, whenever we execute this on size changed function, a new bitmap, you can see this bitmap was created here. So a new bitmap is what created every time the function executes. Okay, so you actually need a new bitmap because the size has actually changed. You need a new bitmap because the size has actually changed. But however, this is actually a memory leak. Okay, this is actually a memory leak because you have the old bitmaps around. So it's actually a memory leak. So to fix, how we're going to fix this is we'll recycle the extra bitmap before creating the next one. Okay, we'll recycle it before creating the next one. So how do we do that? Just after after this super dot unchanged, I'm going to say if, so I'm just going to say extra, okay, so I'm going to, so let's do this. So I'm going to, let's take this. Okay, so if extra bitmap, okay, I think I'm actually missing out something. Okay, let's see to confirm. Okay, so Not seeing that. Okay, so let's do this. So if the extra bitmap is initialized, okay, if it is initialized, then we want to recycle it. So yeah. So if it was already initialized, we recycle it. If it is not, then we'll go ahead and create that bitmap. Okay. So that's actually that. So the next thing we need to do is to overwrite the onDraw method. Okay, remember what the onDraw method does. Okay, so all the drawings actually happen in your onDraw method. Okay, all the drawings. Okay, so first things first, we're going to display the canvas. Okay, that is filling the screen with a background color. Okay, that we actually set this on size change. So I'm going to override the onDraw. Okay. And then I'm just going to call the canvas dot draw bitmap. Okay, draw. And then I'm going to pass in an extra bitmap. And then the left float, so I'm going to say 0f. I'm going to pass in 0f again. And then finally, oh. Okay, so this draw bitmap. Okay, sorry, let's see. Okay. So this draw bitmap canvas method, okay, this draw bitmap method, okay. There are actually various versions of it though, but basically we're actually just providing the bitmap, the X and Y coordinates in pixels, okay, the X and Y coordinates in pixels, okay, and null. So this null is for the paint, okay, we'll set it later. We'll actually set it later, okay. So so let's actually let's run this and then let's see what we have. So I'm going to run this and then let's see what we actually have. Okay, so running that. Okay, so okay, so I think I may need to let's change the color. I don't, were you able to see my emulator?
No,
No,
no.
Okay, so okay, let me, I thought as much. So let me share my whole screen. Okay, yeah. So this is it. So this is it. So this is our background color. Yes, that's why we have the purple. Okay. So we took out the action bar. Okay. So of course we have not actually implemented any drawing yet, but we will. So, but I want you to notice something. Okay. This young man and this young man. Let's see. Okay. So now the canvas, okay, that's passed to this one, so this onDraw method, okay, is also used by the system to display our bitmap, but it's different from the one that we actually created in the onSize changed. It's different from it. Okay, so just bear that in mind. It's different, okay? Because you're going to use that the one in the onSize changed method, okay, that's the one we're going to use to draw on the bitmap. Okay, so let's just go. I'm going to explain. It's going to be clearer once we actually start implementing that. So let's set up the paint, okay, and a path for the drawing. Now, of course, here we set it to null. Okay, so let's set up a paint and the path for the drawing. So of course, in order for you to draw, you actually need the paint object. We talked about that in the beginning. Okay, you need the paint object because it specifies how things are styled when you draw. Okay, and the path that specifies what is being drawn. Okay, so I'm going to initialize this the paint object. So I'm going to say private const. Wow, why should I? Let's just use a vowel. Okay, so I'll call this the stroke width. Okay. Okay, I'm going to set to 12 F. Okay, so it just know that it has to actually be a float. So we are basically just defining a constant for the width. Okay, it has to be a float. Okay, it has to be a float. So the next thing, I'll define a variable called, so let's do this. So let me create the draw color. Okay, what color are we now going to use to draw? Well, we have this purple. So what color would we use? We need something that will stand out. Well, we can use a white, we can use a red. Okay, so let's see. Sources compact dot get file. Then pass my resources. And add color. Oh, well, let's just use a black. Okay, to still stand out. Okay, to still stand out, and then we'll pass in now for the theme to still stand out. Okay, so now it's time to let's now add a variable for the paint. Okay, to actually get the paint object. So and initialize it. So let's do this. I'm now going to. So I'm going to say. So I want to get the paint object. So I paint, I'll say. Okay. So I'm going to say paint. Well, let's say that apply so we can actually just get what we need. So for the color, okay, we're going to pass in the draw color. So that will be the color that will be used. There's another stuff called is Anti-Alias. Okay. So this basically just smooth out edges of what is being drawn without affecting the shape. Okay. So it smooths out the edges. So I'm going to set that to be true. Okay, this is theta. Set this to true. Okay, so of course, so this helps for what sets flags and the likes. Okay. What next can we add here? Let's say style. So for the style, I'm going to paint dot style. So what style? Well, stroke. Actually using a stroke. Okay. So let's say the stroke join. There's a method called the stroke join, and then I'm going to say paint dot join, and then round. Okay. Yeah. And then the stroke cap. Okay. So we use the paint again, dot the cap, and then we get the round also. And then the stroke width, let's get the width. So what should be the width of the stroke? So this is just going to be stroke width that we created, okay, which is the 12 F. Okay, so let me just run through what each of these does. Let me just run through that. Okay, so of course the color, this is the color of the paint. Okay, that's basically that, which is black. Okay, is anti-alias, okay? So it just defines whether to apply edge smoothing, okay? So of course, if you set it to true, it means we want to smooth out the edges of whatever is being drawn without actually affecting the shape, okay? Without affecting the shape. So yeah, let's go to the next thing. Then the is data, okay? So basically what this does is that it affects how colors with what we call higher precision, okay? It affects how colors with higher precision than the device are actually what's sampled, okay? For example, like the training is, I think it's most common, it's actually the most common means of reducing what we call color range of images, okay, down to 256, or for some fewer colors, okay. So then, of course, the style just sets the type of painting to be done on the stroke, okay, of course, which is actually a line, okay. So this paint.style, the paint.style just specifies the primitive, if the primitive being drawn is filled, okay. If what is being drawn is actually filled, or a stroke, or both of them, if it is the same the same color, okay. So the default actually is to just fill the object to which the paint is being applied. That's actually the default, okay. So where the fill, okay, fill colors the inside of the shape, while stroke follows its outline. So just know those two. Fill colors the inside of the shape. You're filling it colors the inside, but stroke just follows the outline. Okay, now the stroke join, okay, of this paint.join basically just specifies how lines and curved segments join on a stroke path, okay, how it actually joins on the stroke path. And then the stroke cap, it sets the shape of the end of the line to be a cap, okay. The default is actually what we call a bot, that's BUTT, that's the default actually. So well, when you implement this, you can just play around with that, change the values, and then see the outcome of that. See the outcome of that. Yeah, then stroke width, of course, from the word, okay, it just specifies the width of the stroke in pixels. Okay, so well, you can actually read more on the train. I think I'll just maybe drop some resources with us. So now let's move ahead and initialize a path object. Okay, let's move ahead and initialize a path object. Okay, so the path is just a path of what the user is drawing. Okay, so I'm going to add a variable. I'm going to call the variable path. And it's going to take the instance of this guy, of the path class here. Okay, so remember what we said. It's just it's the path of what the user is actually drawing. So we want to basically, I'm just basically initializing a path object so that I can store the path that is actually being drawn, when following the user's touch on the screen. Okay, that's basically what I'm actually just doing. So we have created that. Now let's draw following the user's touch. Let's now draw based on the user's touch. So the first thing to do is to respond to motion on the display. Okay. Now the method we're going to use for that is the Untouched event method. Okay, so the Untouched event method on a view is called whenever the user touches the display, the screen. Whenever the user touches the display, the Untouched event method is what's called. So we're going to override it. We're going to override this method to cache the X and Y coordinates. Okay, so let's do that. So Untouched events. Okay, yeah. So okay, just going to take this out. So Now let's do something. Okay, so okay, let me just create something. Okay, so let this be events dot the x-axis. And then I'm just going to create for y. Okay, so this will be for the y-axis. Okay, so of course, no safety. Okay, so of course I'll sort that out now. So basically what I'm going to do, I'm going to say when event so dot action. Okay, so it uses the get action method. So when event dot action, what do we do? Okay, I'm going to say that I'll get the motion events dot action down. So when it is action down, what do we do? I'll call what the so let me see. So I'll call a touch start method. So let's just create that. All right. And then when it is action move, okay, I'm going to call the touch move method. And then when it is action up, yeah. Yes, I'm going to call the touch up method. Okay, I'm going to call the touch upwards method. So this is basically for the touch event. Okay, how to respond to the motion on the display. So when the user when there's a downward movement, we're going to create a touch start method. Okay, I'll create all these functions. Okay, so of course we're going to actually use them. So of course you can just do this, can do this also, and then you can just do this. Now, of course, since we are returning a Boolean, so I'm just going to say return true. Now for this, I'm just going to create some constants. Well, just a variable. Let's not be a constant. So okay, let me just add that here. So I have the private, let's say private var. So let's make it a var. And then so by default, so you're gonna have a 0f. And then okay, so I think I spelled something wrongly. Touch events. Okay, touch event. Okay, touch event Y. Okay, so yeah, so let's motion touch event X, motion touch event Y. Okay, so let's see. I think we have. Okay, so I don't think, yeah. Let's. So what do we surround with the null check? Well, it's either we do that, or let me see, either or. I kind of really don't like this. But, so let's just surround it with a null check. Okay. Okay. Let's surround it with a null check and also surround this. So this required floats. So 0f, 0f. Okay. Then, so if the event is null, okay, I can just, so I can just take this into the space. Okay. So that kind of just sorts that out. Okay, so so let's make sure that let's just run this to make sure, we don't have any issues. Just build that quickly before we go into implementing those methods. Okay. All is well. Okay, yeah, so all is fine. So let's implement these methods now. Okay, the touch start, the touch move, and the touch upward method. Okay, so let's start with the touch start. Okay, now, so this method is called when the user first touches the screen. Okay, the touch start method is called when the user, starts touching the screen. Okay, so I'm going to add, some variables to cache the latest, X and Y values. Okay, I'm going to add some variables. I'm going to do that. Let's do that on the class level. Let's get the current X. And then the current Y. Okay, so, yep. So with that now, let's implement this. So I'm going to get the path. First of all, we're going to do a path.reset. Okay, so we'll reset the path first. Then we'll move the X and Y coordinates of the touch event. Okay, we're going to move it and then assign the current X and current Y to that value. So what do I mean? So I'm going to say path dot move to. Okay, so I will move into what's the X. So move to the motion touch X, that is where, of course, the touch of the user, and then the Y. Okay, so immediately we do that. Once we are done, then we cache it. So we'll just store that the motion touch event X, and then for the Y, store that motion Y. Okay, so that's for the touch start. Now for the touch move, okay. So I'm going to add a variable. I'm going to add a variable. And basically what this variable, I'm going to call it. Now, yeah, it's going to have a very funny name. Let's make it a val. Touch tolerance. Yeah. You should always name variables in a way they can have a meaning. So basically what it's going to do, so I'm going to get the view configuration. .get, then I'll pass in the context. And then it gets this. So the scaled, what we'll call the scaled touch slot. Okay. So all right, I'm going to explain this. Now when you're using a path, okay, using a path, there's actually no need to draw every pixel each time. Okay, there's no need to draw every pixel, and each time each time request to refresh that distance. So instead, we can actually just interpolate a path between points. So basically what I'm saying is, if the finger of the user has barely moved, then there's no need to draw. Okay, if the finger has barely moved, there's no need to draw. If the finger has moved less than the touch tolerance distance, don't draw. That's basically what this whole thing is about now. Okay, first of all, if the finger has barely moved, there is no need to draw. If the finger has moved less than the touch tolerance distance, don't also draw. So this scaled touch slope, it returns the distance in pixels that a touch can actually wander before the system thinks the user is scrolling. That's what it actually does. Okay, it returns the distance in pixels. A touch can wander before the system thinks the user is scrolling. Basically, what it's saying is that the distance, when you want to actually scroll, okay, it records the distance in pixels, okay, that you can actually just, move your finger before the system thinks that, oh, this person is actually what scrolling. That's what the scale touch slope returns. Okay, so we're going to define the touch move method. Okay, we'll calculate the traveled distance. Okay, create a curve between the 2 points, and then we'll store it in the path. We'll calculate the travel distance. Okay, create a curve between the 2 points, and then we'll store it in path. So let's just do it in code. So this is basically what we need to do. So in our untouched move, so I'm going to say val dx. Okay, so dx to show that the travel distance. Okay, we're calculating that. So we're going to use a math function. Okay, so get the absolute, and then of the motion x minus the current x. Okay, we'll do the same thing for the y. And then some people will be like, did we just enter mathematics? Okay, minus the current y. Well, of course, we can actually just do this. We can actually just call the abs function. Okay. So, excuse me. So we'll do a check. If the traveled distance, okay, of the x-axis, okay, if the x is greater than or equal to the touch tolerance, okay, if it is greater than or equal to touch, or the distance for y, the travel distance for y is also greater than equal to the touch tolerance, what do we do? We'll get the path dot, okay, so there's a method called the quad to, or I'll explain it. Let me just, so basically what we are saying, let me just, draw back a bit. Okay, so we want to basically calculate the distance that has been moved. Okay, that's why we're using the dx and then the dy. The distance has moved from the x-axis and the distance has moved from the y-axis. So, and that's how we calculate. We get the absolute of the motion touch event x minus the current one. Okay, remember the current is actually caching the previous one. Okay, so what we'll now do is if the movement was further, that's why we have the greater than or the equal to. If it was further than the touch tolerance, then we'll now add a segment to the path. That means we want to draw. Okay, so we set the starting point for the next segment to the end point of this segment. How do we do that? We use this. So using this quad 2, the quad 2 method, we use it to create a smoothly drawn line without corners. Okay, there's the line 2 method. We're going to be using the quad 2 method to create a smooth, drawn line without what corners. Okay, so for the quad 2, I'm now going to pass in the current x. Okay, the next thing it means the current y, and then we now pass in our motion event, which is the plus the current x and divided by 2. And then we'll do the same thing, the motion, that's the x2, the motion y plus the current y. And also divide that by 2. Okay, so let's do some reassigning. So our current x now is the motion touch event x, and then our current y is also motion. So we need to update those values. So the next thing, so once we have done that calculation, okay, so we'll now draw the path. in the extra bitmap to actually cache it. So just go to the extra canvas dot draw path, and then we'll pass in the path and then the paint. So once we are done, we now need to call the invalidate what method. Okay, remember the invalidate method. Okay, to redraw. Okay, to redraw the view. So the last method we're going to implement is going to be the touch up. Okay, the touch up method. So when the user lifts their touch, okay, all that you actually need is to just reset the path so it does not get drawn again. Okay, nothing is drawn, so we don't need to invalidate here. So what we'll just do is path dot reset. Okay, that's just all. That's all we'll just do. Okay, so let's run this and then see what we have. Let's see if we are good to go. Okay, so I want to try, so you can actually see this. You can actually see this. Yeah, so it actually works. It actually works. It actually works. So just want to draw that again. So I'm going to, let's see. Okay, that's, so just want to write Android. Permits my Android. It kind of looks like Halloween. Okay, so that works. Okay, that actually works. So let's move on. Okay, so the next thing let's draw a frame around this sketch. Okay, because as the user is actually drawing on the screen, what happens is that the application constructs the path and saves it in the bitmap. That is this extra bitmap variable. It saves it there. Now the onDraw method displays that extra bitmap in this view, in the views canvas. So we can actually do more drawing in the onDraw. For example, like you could draw shapes after drawing the bitmap. Okay, so but what we want to do, so what we basically want to draw a frame around the edge of this Android. We want to draw a frame around the edge of this, Android that we actually wrote here. So so I'm going to create a variable that will hold an object called the rect object. So this is what I mean. So private. Okay, so let's take it up. So it's together with this. So private, it's going to be a init variable called frame, and then of rect, of type rect. Okay, now so now at the end of the where we have this on size changed. Okay, so we'll define what we'll call an inset, inset. Okay, and then we'll add a code to create that rect that we just declared. That's what will be used for the frame. Okay, so just here I'm going to say var inset. Okay, I'm going to say, let's say 14. So basically want to create, so what we're basically doing is to what create a rectangular frame around the, okay, let's say drawing. Okay, so and then I'll call the frame, and then I'll say rect. And what do I need to pass in? The left, the top, the right, and the bottom. So I'm just going to pass in inset, excuse me. I'm going to pass in inset again, which is that's 40, 40. Okay. And then for this, I'm going to call width. Let's get the width. sorry, which is W minus insert in, okay, so let's see, I'm going to sort that out, and then I just say, okay, so yeah, so for the, yeah, we have the insert, that's the top 40, top, yeah, left 40, right is going to be W minus this, and then the bottom is that. So that's actually that. So in our draw, okay, after drawing the bitmap, we'll now draw the rectangle, okay? So here that we have this, so I'm going to say canvas, okay, dot draw rect. Yeah, we have that here. So we'll pass in the frame, which we've created, and then we'll pass in the paint. Okay, and of course, null pointer. So let's run the application now, and then let's see what we have. Okay, so we'll have to reinstall and restart, of course. So you can see the frame. You can see this black, frame that we just actually put up now. So you can go later and then play around. Okay, what if we had a 90 here? Okay, what if we had a 90? How would it look? You understand? You can just play around with this stuff. Okay, so you see that, you see what happens. Okay, so what if we had a 150? I like to just play around, so it kind of helps you understand what is really going on, okay, when you keep on trying and playing around with some of these things. So that's actually that. Okay, so let's reset this back to 40. So I think this is it, but one last thing that we can actually do is to actually store data in a path. Okay, you can actually store the data in a path. Okay, now in what we have built right now, the drawing information, okay, is stored in a bitmap. Okay, this is actually good, okay, but it is not the only possible way for storing drawing information. Okay, because how you store your drawing history depends on the application. Actually, it actually depends on the application, okay, and some requirements. Like for example, if you are drawing shapes, okay, you could save a list of shapes with their location and dimensions. Okay, so for this my Canva view, my Canva app, okay, we could actually save the path as a path and not as a bitmap. Okay, so but this is just how you can actually do it. Just not like we're going to. So, but basically, what we'll just do is we're just going to remove, all the code we have for the extra canvas. If you wanted to do that, and the extra bitmap, this whole thing, you can actually just take that out, and then we used a drawing. So wouldn't really can actually. So if we let me just do this. Can just comment this out. Okay, and then we can have, yeah, we're gonna have some, and then I can just have let's say private val drawing, okay, and then what is the path? And then I can actually just also do, okay, sorry, I'll take this out from here. So private val current path. Also, we'll take the path method. Okay, yeah. So let's just take this. Okay. So we can actually just drop that. So here, instead of actually calling, the draw bitmap method, I can actually just, say canvas, let's draw path. And then we pass in our path, which is, so we're going to pass in the drawing and then the ping. Okay, so yeah, no safety. And then the next one, we actually now pass in the current path. Then passing the current path.
Hello, I can't hear you. I don't know.
Yeah, sorry. Can you hear me now? Sorry, I think I was
Yes,
muted.
yes, you can.
Yes, sorry about that. I think I was muted. So, well, I was basically asking if there are questions, okay, and then of course, I'll give I'll give you guys a task, okay, to implement a particular, I'll give you some dimensions and everything to make use of, and then um, colors and everything, and then let's see how we can implement that. Okay, so that will be the task for you guys to be moved to stage 2.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So in the absence of no questions, I think this is where we're going to round up. Thank you very much. And yeah, we meet
Thank
in
you
the
too, sir.
next class. Yes.
Yeah,
Have a
thank
wonderful
you
day.
very much. And you too.